welcome to EHAF Indonesia 2020 Goes Online. This is University Webinar Series. My name is Puji and I am going to be moderating this webinar. This webinar is going to be presented by Mr. Liam Ryan from the University of Limerick. Please stay tuned until the end of the webinar because we will hold a Q&A session. If you have any questions about the presentation or anything about related to Ireland's higher education, you can submit your questions in the YouTube live chat section anytime throughout this presentation. Now, please welcome Mr. Liam Ryan. Mr. Liam Ryan, time of floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate the time and the opportunity to present to you guys. So I am just going to share my screen, and we will go from there. Okay, so my presentation is entitled Amazing Experience and Future Success. And I will talk a little bit about the experience of studying in Limerick in Ireland and what that means for international students coming from Indonesia. So just a very brief introduction on myself. So my name is Liam and I am the Southeast Asia Regional Manager for the University of Limerick. I actually am a graduate of UL. So I studied politics and international relations, class of 2006. So I understand the student experience here in Limerick also, as well as working in the university. And basically my entire role, so I'm a full-time staff member, and my entire role is student support for Indonesian students considering studying at UL. So information providing, assistance with visas, with travel, with the whole process. Just to make sure that students are fully informed about what's involved in coming here to Ireland and then supporting them once they're here also. A very brief introduction to Ireland, for those of you that don't know about Ireland. It's an English-speaking country in the European Union. It is the fastest growing economy in Europe, so it's very, very fast growing economy, and that means very good opportunities for you as students when you're studying here. It's known as a center of excellence for tech, for pharma, for medical devices, and for other industries. But the three main ones here in Ireland would be technology, so IT companies, pharmaceuticals, and medical devices. And we have the European headquarters of most of the top companies in the world based their European headquarters here in Ireland. And what that means for you as potential students is that not only can you study here in Ireland, you can work in these companies after you graduate as well. So you get an automatic stay-back visa to work here. Ireland is known as the Silicon Valley of Europe. So we have a huge range of tech firms that are based here. And we've quite a small population, so only about 4 million people. So we don't have enough staff to fill all of our vacancies. So we are looking for international students to study here, but also to work here in Ireland as well. The cost of education, very importantly, is subsidized by the Irish government. So education is pretty much free for Irish students, and it is lower cost of education for international students when compared to, for example, Australia, USA, UK. The cost of education for students in an English-speaking country in Ireland is one of the lowest in the world. So it's quite a good opportunity for students who maybe have limited resources can still study overseas without having to remortgage their parents' house or something like that. So a brief introduction to UL. So University of Limerick, basically anyone in Ireland calls it UL. So I will just call it UL from now on. So the university, it's a public university in Ireland. So run and owned by the Irish government. It is ranked in the top 100 young universities in the world, so quite high rankings in terms of QS, Times Higher Education, etc. We are particularly well known for two things, and the first one is international student experience. So 2019, we were rated #1 in the world for international student experience, and that is kind of the quality of life on campus, you know, the facilities, the support that's given to students. And it's just the overall experience of being on campus in Limerick. We were rated #1 in the world for that, and it's something we're incredibly proud of. The other thing that we focus on is graduate outcomes. So making sure that students who study here in Limerick get into employment after they graduate. We have a number of large programs around that. So we have a very large internship program. We have a careers preparation program for all students, basically making sure that they're ready for a career after they graduate. So we were rated and ranked by Times Higher Education number 3 in Europe for career preparation and graduate employability. So plainly speaking, basically, if you come to Limerick, or if your son or daughter come to Limerick, they will be safe, they will have an enjoyable experience, and they will get a job after they graduate as well. So that's kind of our mission statement, or our whole ethos is supporting students while on campus and ensuring they get into their career after they graduate as well. One of the kind of unique selling points of the university, so this is the only university I've seen offer this in the world. We offer paid 8-month internships for all bachelor degree students. So every single major, every single student in the university will have an opportunity to do an 8-month paid internship. And it's the largest internship program in Europe. So if you come in to do a bachelor's degree, you not only finish with your bachelor's degree, but you also finish with almost 1 year of paid work experience. It's supervised and structured by the university. It's arranged by the university, but you're actually working as a full-time employee of a company in a field related to your studies. So it forms part of your overall grade from your degree. You're supervised and visited by your professors during the internship, but you are working as a substantive employee in the company as well. So what we call a cooperative education. So it's a cooperation between industry and university. Just to give it an idea of average tuition fees. So the overall cost of tuition plus living expenses on average, around 17,000 euros per year. That can be slightly higher or slightly lower depending on the course and where you're living and things like that. But an average kind of cost would be around 17,000 per year, and that would include everything, bills, food, tuition, etc. So we are a comprehensive university arranged into 4 faculties. So our faculties are science and engineering, education and health sciences, arts, humanities and social sciences, and a faculty of business. And then within each faculty, we have 19 schools, and each of those schools then offers a range of majors. So they offer, bachelor's, master's, and PhD programs in all of these areas. So in science and engineering, we have a large school of natural sciences, school of engineering, school of design, school of electronic and computer engineering, school of computer science, and a school of mathematics and statistics. So each one of them will have a wide range of degree programs across the board. We have about 300 degree programs, so I'm not going to list through all of them. But our most popular schools in the School of Science and Engineering would be the School of Engineering, so things like aeronautical engineering and manufacturing engineering. And then computer science and information systems, we're home to the Irish Software Research Institute. So it's LERO, which is kind of the biggest software research institute in Ireland, is housed in the University of Limerick. So we're kind of seen as one of the centres of excellence for computer science in Ireland and actually in Europe. Our second faculty is education and health science. And in that we have medicine, physical education and sports science, nursing and midwifery, allied health, psychology and education. Like any school of medicine, it's extremely popular. It's difficult to get into. It's incredibly expensive, but we do offer medicine to students. We run it on the US curriculum. So you would do a 4-year pre-med degree first, and then a 4-year medicine degree afterwards. So it's slightly different to the UK or some of the other Irish universities. We're ranked in the top 50 in the world for physical education and sports sciences, and that's one of our most prestigious schools. Would be kind of sports science and physical education. And then my old faculty, my alma mater, so arts, humanities and social science. We have history, English, Irish and communication, modern languages and applied linguistics, School of Law, politics, public administration, sociology, and then we have a large school of performing arts, so music and dance. And actually within that, we do get a number of Indonesian students each year. We have students doing choreography, doing performance art, We have a Javanese gamelan, believe it or not, in Limerick. And we have a number of students who do world music, world dance, and so on. So that's quite popular. And then finally, our School of Business is AMBAS, Equus, and ACSB accredited, so Triple Crown accreditation, which puts it in the kind of top 1% of business schools in the world. And we offer a wide range of bachelor's, master's, and PhD programs in those areas. If you have specific kind of questions on programs offered or majors, feel free to put those in the chat, and we'll answer those questions after the presentation. Okay, so just what makes us distinctive? So, why choose UL over other Irish or European universities? So as I mentioned, we have the largest internship program in Europe. So every single undergrad student does an 8-month paid internship arranged by the university in a company related to their field of study. #1 international student experience in the world. That's a huge draw. We ensure that students that come to us are supported, are safe, are welcomed, are looked after. Our bachelor degrees and our master's degrees are designed by industry for industry. So because we have such a large internship program, we need to ensure that every student that is on our course is ready to go into work within the third year. So we actually work closely with our industry partners to make sure that the skills being taught match what's actually being used in the sectors of employment as well. Amazing work opportunities here in Ireland. I think that's a key selling point for Ireland, is actually not just the education piece, and the education piece is fantastic, but the job opportunities here in Ireland are fantastic. And our international students, we have so many success stories of international students coming here to study and then finding work after they graduate. And we're affordable as well, so it's not gonna cost you, $50,000 to study here. It is quite reasonable in terms of cost and return on investment. So our location, so we are located in Limerick, which is the third largest city in Ireland. So we're on the west coast of Ireland, so about 2 hours by bus or by train from Limerick to Dublin, and it's about 1 hour by flight from Limerick to London. So if you wanted to kind of locate where we were exactly in the world, our nearest neighbor is the UK, and we're just off the western coast of mainland Europe. Limerick UL then has 16,000 students. There's 3 universities in Limerick, so there's over 30,000 students in the city, which makes up about 20% of the city. So it's quite a student city, very kind of young, dynamic, artsy environment here. And then we have 3,000 international students in our student body. This year we had eight Indonesian students in UL, so small numbers but growing. We've only recently started kind of advertising actively in Indonesia, so we're hoping that number does grow, and the Indonesian students that are here have fantastic things to say and are really happy with their experience. Just to talk through the structure of our programs. So we have a 4-year bachelor degree structure. You study theory and practical work in year 1 and year 2. We only intake in September for pretty much all of our programs. In year 3, you'll study, you'll do your internship basically. So we swap out an academic semester and we arrange the internship for you in year 3. The salary, as I mentioned, is approximately €2,000 per month. That can be higher or lower depending on the company that you're working for. And then in year 4, you come back in on campus, you complete the program, and you do a research project based on that. You get a 1-year visa stay back automatically after a bachelor's degree. Fees vary between 11 and 16,000 per year, and there's up to €6,000 merit-based scholarships available for undergraduate students. And then for masters, they're a 1-year program. So you study basically for 12 months from September to August. You get a 2-year visa stay back from a master's degree. And then there's an up to €4,000 merit-based scholarship available for our master's programs. And then for potential PhD students, they're normally 4 years in duration. Structured or traditional PhDs are available. And then we do have funding and scholarships available depending on your research topic. And we also have funding through the Dikti scholarship in Indonesia as well. We have a partnership with the Dikti funding agency in Indonesia. Just a very quick case study. So Tim joined us a couple of years ago. He's from Jakarta. He joined into our School of Computer Science. So he did the Computer Science Common Entry program in year 1. And then he decided to do his major. He picked his major of computer games design in year 2. So he received actually merit-based scholarships based on his high grades during year 1 and year 2. And he's currently now on his paid placement in Cisco in Dublin during his 3rd year. So he's had a fantastic experience so far. And we recently actually just got news that Michelle, one of our master's students, just got a permanent job with Facebook European headquarters in Dublin as well. So she's delighted and has a full-time job offer with Facebook headquarters here in Ireland as well. Just to give you an example of campus accommodation, so there's private bedrooms. So the bottom left photo basically would be an example of your own room. So you have your own double bed, you have a study area and a bathroom, and then there would be shared kitchen and living area that would be shared with 2, 4, or 5 other students. So you have your own private bedroom. It's obviously very, very important with the current COVID crisis and so on. But you do basically have then a household in your apartment where you can kind of, you can socialize with the group that you have in your apartment. Cost is between 4,000 and 6,000 euros per year for your own room. There's obviously 24-hour security. There's live-in managers. We have about 4,000 spaces on campus. So most of our international students choose to live on campus if available. This is a cost comparison, so just kind of taking a standard business degree with no scholarship and the average living costs. We took basically similarly ranked universities in UK, USA, Australia, and ourselves, and we did a cost comparison basically. So UL basically came out at about 19,000 euros for pre-scholarship. For the UK, it was about 28,000, so about 10,000 euros more. The US was 48, so hugely double the cost, and Australia was 35, just under 35,000 euros. So you can see quite clearly that the cost of education is actually lower in Ireland. That doesn't necessarily mean that the quality is lower. So one of the things we get is, oh, well, if you're not paying as much tuition, the quality must not be good. But we receive millions of euros of funding per year from the Irish government. So we're a fully funded Irish government university. So as a result, we don't have to charge huge amounts of money for tuition. So the cost of education is subsidized, but for the publicly funded universities here in Ireland. So it's important to note that. I'm nearly finished, so we'll get to questions in a couple of minutes. Just one thing to note is the OECD, which is kind of the economic global think tank, identified the Irish economy as the one that's least impacted globally by the coronavirus pandemic. What that means for you is that you can access excellent post-study work opportunities and the graduate visa scheme. So we have a number of companies that are still hiring and even hiring more staff currently than they were probably 12 months ago. And those are particularly in the areas of computer science, pharmaceuticals, and medical devices. And the reason for that is they're obviously more in demand now than they would have been pre-COVID. So we're in a kind of an unusually lucky kind of area where the companies that are based here are key in the fight versus COVID. So we've actually seen an increase in hiring rather than a decrease, which is unusual. Just to give you an example of some of the kind of stats on those sectors. So 9 of the top 10 ICT companies, 15 of the top 20 medical device companies and so on are all based here in Ireland. So the companies that we have students working in, as you see from Tim, it's Cisco. Michelle's working in Facebook. It's not small fry companies that international students are getting jobs in. They're getting big multinational companies on their CV straight after graduation, which is fantastic. Just a sample of some companies, as I said, that are based here. So, Google, Amazon, Citibank, Microsoft, Apple, Twitter, and so on. Just very, very quickly then. So just to touch on COVID. So Ireland has had quite a strict and successful kind of approach towards COVID. So we've had quite a significant level of lockdown and kind of controls in place. Our teaching is a mixture of online and face-to-face teaching in UL, and safety of students is our number one priority. So during COVID, we've been arranging free airport collections, free accommodation during self-isolation, and the Irish government also provides an income support of €1,400 per month for international students who may have lost part-time jobs. So there's quite a lot of support in place there, and quite a safe environment for students. Our case numbers compared globally are quite low. So there is quite a good, a strict kind of safety measures put in place for students here. So that is pretty much it for me. So in terms of the UL summary, you can expect excellent student experience and happiness, a safe and strong COVID response here in Ireland, high quality industry focused teaching. Pretty much everyone gets internships and industry experience, extremely high graduate employment rates, and affordable and high quality. So we can move to the questions. If you are interested, I'll leave my colleagues' details. So we have a representative based in Indonesia. So Yeni is here to help with questions. But also, if you are interested, you can contact Yeni either through WhatsApp or through email, and I'll leave those details up while we answer some questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Liam Ryan, for your presentation. It was a very insightful introduction to University of Limerick and how to study at the so-called Silicon Valley of Europe with Japanese gamelan in the campus. Nonetheless, that's very exciting.
Absolutely.
Now
yes. I've actually tried it out myself. I'm not so good, but I'm learning slowly.
Well, that's there for a reason, for you to also try it, and probably practice more often.
Exactly.
So let's begin with the Q&A session. We already have a few questions. So the first one is about funding, actually. So you mentioned about Dikti scholarship. Is there any other funding opportunities? Specifically, the audience is questioning for the master's degree on communications.
Yeah, it's a good question. So we have a number of kind of scholarship routes for our postgrad students. So every single postgraduate student is automatically considered for what we call the UL Global Scholarship. So that is a merit-based scholarship. So when a student applies to the university, they're automatically considered for admission and for scholarship at the same time. So they don't need to make a separate application for that scholarship. And a decision on that is based on their academic record from their bachelor's degree or whatever their background is. That's worth up to a value of €4,000. And then we also have the Government of Ireland Scholarship Programme. So that is a 100% scholarship. And that requires basically first having an offer letter from UL, and then you would make an application. So it's kind of a competitive application into the Government of Ireland Scholarship Scheme. Other than that, then there is obviously kind of external companies, funding agencies like Dikti. We're not on the LPDP list, so if there is students planning to study through LPDP, we aren't on that specific list as well. So, but obviously the Dikti funding is one good way. But our UL Global Scholarship and the Government of Ireland Scholarship are probably the two most common funding routes.
All right, I see. That's actually very encouraging. So those of you who are interested in applying, you have opportunities for applying for scholarships as well. So next is related to registration. So what about Indonesian high school students graduate who would like to apply with their degree certificate? And for those with IB or A-levels curriculum, can they apply with their prediction score?
Yep, that's a very good question. So for the Indonesian high school, you basically have two application routes. So if you finished SMA 3, basically you can choose to go directly onto our bachelor's degree, and with that you would need an IELTS of 6.5, but you would also need to sit an SAT exam. So you do SMA 3 plus SAT plus IELTS, and you go straight onto first year of our bachelor degree program. The other route basically is a foundation route. So students can do SMA 3 and then can choose to do a foundation program either in Limerick we have a foundation program taught on campus by the university. We also have a partnership with Raffles College in Jakarta, so you can do the foundation either in Jakarta or in Limerick. That requirement, basically, there's an IELTS of 5.0. There's no need for SAT or anything like that. You basically just go straight from SMA 3 onto foundation, and then progress onto the bachelor's degree after that. So there's kind of two entry routes for the Indonesian students. It depends on if you want to do a foundation year or not, and that does give kind of students a little bit more flexibility. It's normally students who maybe need to improve their English language will do the foundation year. Students who already have fantastic IELTS of 6.5 or 7 or something like that will often choose to do the SAT entry route to save a year of time for themselves. For IB and A levels, yes, students can apply with their predicted grades, and we will give you a conditional offer letter based on predicted grades, and then you just send your final scores through once you get them in the summer. Our entry requirements are quite kind of clear on our website, but for IB, normally it's a score of 28 or above. And for A levels, it's a BBC or above, basically, for most programs. There is a couple of more competitive programs that require higher scores, but the majority are kind of in around that level. So as long as your predicted grades show that score or higher, then you're fine. You should be able to enter.
All right, that sounds lovely. We have more question again on applying for postgraduate degree. So can you apply for a master's or PhD study program that's different from your previous degrees?
Yes. So in each of our faculties, we have, I'm not sure what the formal name for them is, but we in the recruitment team call them major changers, just because it sounds good. But basically, they are programs that are designed for, so for example, in our School of Business, we have a Master's of Business Management, which is designed for non-business graduates, basically. So you can change your major from chemical engineering to business, or you can add a kind of a different kind of element or different qualification to your portfolio. So the short answer is yes, but it does depend on the course. So there is some courses that are kind of, very specialist, and they kind of go down a deep dive into a specific area. Those would often require if you're doing a master's in artificial intelligence, you would need a bachelor's of computer science, basically, to do that. But we do have a number of major changers, and one of those at least in each of our faculties. So we do offer quite a range of options for students. For that particular student, I would maybe recommend to contact myself or Yenny directly with the course that they're considering, and we can advise them on whether that's possible or not, given their background.
All right, thank you for the insight. So more question on application. People are quite interested in applying. So someone wrote on YouTube saying that I have a mental health research project and I am interested to take it as a topic for PhD in UL. Could you explain how to apply? Also, is there any funding for PhD research?
Yeah, good question. So we have a large school of psychology, and they do offer quite a wide range of PhD programs. I kind of touched on it very briefly during the presentation, but we offer two types of PhD. So the first one is a traditional PhD, where you would have a research topic. You would send it into our research department here in the university, and you just basically check UL research. So you would send the research topic to them. They would help you find a potential supervisor in the university. And if there's a match made, basically, then you would apply for your PhD and they would become your PhD supervisor. A structured PhD, and we have those in our School of Psychology, is you apply for that kind of like a master's application. So you would send your academic profile through. The first year of the PhD, you would do taught modules, so along kind of mental health or psychology, or whatever that might be. You would also do modules kind of on how to structure a PhD program, how to kind of develop a research topic. And then during that first year, you would also identify and match with a PhD supervisor. So if your preference is to kind of study a specific topic that you've already developed a research topic for, then go the traditional route. Whereas if you kind of want to get guidance on, you know, how to structure that, you want more time to actually study the topic and then spend the rest of the area researching, then a structured PhD may be a better fit. So oftentimes students who've done a master's already will prefer to go on to a traditional PhD. If a student has just done a bachelor's maybe and doesn't really have lots of information on the research process, then a structured PhD can be a better option for them.
All right. So we have one more question on registration, and then we have other things to talk about as well. Okay, so last question on registration is for postgraduate students. Do applicants need to include recommendations from their employer or former lecturers as one of the compulsory recommendation letters?
Okay, excellent. Good questions all around. So the recommendation letters can come from either employers or academic. We are quite understanding to say, you know, if somebody has been studying maybe 10 years ago, for them to get a recommendation letter from their professor is close to impossible. So ideally, if they've just finished university, then they would have at least one academic reference. And then either the second can be from employment or volunteering, or it can be from academic. So it can be a mixture of either one of each, two of one, and then if they've just graduated, you know, they're not going to have two professional references. So ideally one academic and then one other reference is kind of the preferred. The other documents that we do require for postgrad, so we normally look for a CV, 2 letters of recommendation, a personal statement, so kind of a 1-page personal statement, just kind of summarizing their background and what interests them in this particular program, and then obviously English language proof if they require it.
All right, thank you for that. It's nice to hear there's that level of flexibility that would suit everyone from different stages of life, looking forward to pursuing higher education. So next questions are about life as international students in Limerick. So how is the first months of, for international students at UL going to be like in terms of common challenges, things to adapt with, and how to get used to the education system, especially coming from Indonesia, things might be pretty different.
It's a fantastic question. So one of the things we put in place, and we understand that obviously that moving halfway across the world, you're changing culture, you're changing climate, you're changing language, you're changing, a whole range of different things. That we do realize that students need a bit more support. So we have what's in place is the first 7 weeks program. So basically, the week that students arrive, or well, actually in this case, 2 weeks due to COVID, but the week or 2 weeks basically when students arrive into Ireland, there is a detailed orientation program. So it will go through everything from academic, the differences in what academic teaching is like here in the university, to how to cook meals, how to take part in different sports, and all that. So there's quite a detailed 7-week orientation program that's in place in the university, and that's something that kind of brings people out of their shell, lets them settle in a little bit easier. In terms of the kind of main challenges, I think one of the big things that people struggle with coming from Indonesia is the climate. So it's a little bit cooler than it is in Indonesia. The weather changes much more frequently. So it can be sunny in the morning, it can be raining in the afternoon, it can be windy in the evening. So we do kind of we send out emails and information kind of prior to arriving in Ireland, to have the right clothing, have the right kind of equipment. The other difference is from a teaching perspective, we kind of, the model of teaching in Ireland is much more based on independent learning. So students are given a question or a problem. they're given kind of the framework and how to solve the problem, but they're never given the answer. So they have to kind of come up with their own solution and then basically justify that solution. And that can be a big change from the teaching models in some countries. So we do kind of we do work with them in the first couple of weeks to say, listen, this is what's expected of you. You know, there's no such thing as a wrong answer as long as you can justify it and you're able to stand up and defend your hypothesis. Then that's kind of okay. So there is a little bit of kind of a culture shock there when, you know, I think they're coming in expecting to be told what to do, where they're basically kind of given a little bit more freedom than they would have had before. It's hard at the very start, but actually it does develop very strong skills. So when you're in a workplace, there's never a manual, there's never an answer sheet, there's never anything like that. So you need to actually kind of develop your own kind of independent learning and independent thinking, because it's much more relevant in the workplace. So there is a justification behind it, but it can be kind of strange when you're coming all the way across the world to study, and the teachers aren't giving you the answers. It can be quite frustrating, I would imagine. So we do kind of address that and acknowledge that that's going to happen during the first couple of weeks.
All right, thank you. So I think it's very heartwarming, to say the least, when you are in a country in a much colder climate compared to your home country, then you have like a welcoming weeks, 7 weeks. That's very exciting. So it really gives you plenty of opportunities to get around, to get to know your neighborhood as well. That's
absolutely
pretty exciting. We have more questions on registrations. So some people are asking about full scholarship opportunities for master's degrees. There's one asking about transfer program for associate degree to bachelor degree in UL for architecture, and about master's degree for medicine, and whether or not there is a fully funded scholarship available for that.
Okay, so for fully funded master's programs, the best one to apply for is the Government of Ireland scholarship. So with that, you would apply to UL first, get an offer letter, and then you use that offer letter to apply for the Government of Ireland scholarship. So that basically covers all of your tuition fees plus a €10,000 living expense stipend. It is a competitive application though, so I think there's 60 scholarships offered per year. So that would be kind of the main full scholarship to apply for. The transfer student to transfer from associate to bachelor's, that is accepted. So we would basically need to do kind of assess it on a case-by-case basis, but we can accept transfer students to join into the university. I would suggest maybe emailing Jenny at the email address there, and we can get that in process just to see which year they land into. And the third question, I'm after forgetting. What was the third question again?
Maybe I can add some.
Yes, please.
Yeah, in regards of the associate degree from the university in Indonesia, if you like to transfer to University of Limerick, the important things that you need to give the syllabus, and you have to request from your we call decan from the university, and maybe you can put everything, all the subjects you have done, and university UL will assess all the subjects and how many subject or exemption you will get. Either you will study another year or maybe another 2 years, and depends on the major and the syllabus as well. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Jenny.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Jenny, for the further explanation. So another question we have is about, so someone from YouTube asked, does Ireland have an exchange of bachelor degree? Which I would assume it's exchange program for bachelor degree.
Yeah, so we have so for current students, we have basically outbound and inbound exchange. So we would have exchange programs with lots of universities around the world. So I'm guessing they're a current student in an Indonesian university that wants to do a semester in UL is my guess. Yes, we do accept those applications. It depends on the university that they're coming from, whether we have an arrangement in place with them already. If we do, then we can accept an exchange agreement. If we don't, then we do also offer a study abroad semester, so students can just do a semester here and then transfer their credits back to their home university if they wish to do so as well.
Right. Thank you very much. That concludes our Q&A session. Thank you very much, Mr. Liam and Ms. Yenny, for attending for delivering the information on this webinar. And just a reminder, you can also connect with Ms. Yenny at educationIreland.my for further information. I would like to also remind the audience of this webinar that EHAF 2020 will hold virtual fair on Friday and Saturday, where you can consult directly with the university representatives, and you can access the virtual fair through event.ehaf.id. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next session with Limerick Institute of Technology.
Thank you so much. See you guys.
Thank you so much. See you.
Bye-bye.